Good morning. Welcome, ADP Chasing. I'm Mike Shope. Our heroes, Davis Maddock and Pat Corrine, will join me momentarily. A very newsy ADP Chasing with all going on in the so-called legal tampering period. DK Metcalf to Pittsburgh, Davante Adams to the Rams. We already had Debo. We've got Geno Smith traded. And a pretty good chance as we get going here just before noon on Monday, the 10th of March, that there will be news during the show. We'll have to figure out how we're going to break that news as we talk. But a lot to figure out. What is everything meaning to drafts? With Pat and Davis, I'm Mike. Welcome, ADP Chasing, March 10th, 2025.
ADP Chasing is for when you watch Ship Chasing, you go, these guys are just football guys.
And the targets per outrun leagues, that's going to be really nice.
Actually, back in if it's Ashane.
Stare into our crystal ball. Close your eyes, all your entries are going to lose anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is a Deuce Vaughn show.
It's anti-cabal. It's anti the best ball thought leaders. I'm obviously lying to some degree because, I have a lot of both of these guys.
It's the most disgusting pick you can make. But, man.
Just thinking, if I said something like, if I'm the new Darren, would that be a reference either of you would get?
Mm-mm.
No. Bewitched?
No.
Okay.
Darren? No.
Come home from school, you watch syndicated shows that you don't realize are actually from your past, but it's, it's what's on. And so in the middle of the series Bewitched, the first Darren, I think he broke his neck or something. The actor's name was Dick York, and they just replaced him with a different guy whose name was also Dick Sargent, and just kept the character moving, and it was just a different guy.
It's the husband of the titular Bewitched.
The right? Mortal, yes. The witch
Nick
endowed
at Night. Nick
character.
at Night. That's my generation. We had Nick at Night, which was just a bunch of old sitcoms from, the syndicated sitcoms.
They did that in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? The mom is a different actress, isn't that right? Will's mother.
Is that right?
I
don't remember that.
The most recent example I've got is in Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me. Donna Hayward is not played by Laura Flynn Boyle in the movie. She's played by a different actress, which is Aunt Viv. Aunt Viv, is played by a different woman, I believe.
Well, I'm not big into Twin Peaks.
I'm your relatively new
All
Darren.
right, well, we're not friends anymore, Pat.
I've actually it was spinning its wheels a little bit.
I've changed my whole personality over the last 15 to 16 days. I'm now the guy who's like, oh, dude, you've never seen Twin Peaks. You got to shut down everything in your life.
I've watched a couple episodes. I'm like, does it know what it's doing? Twin Peaks always struck me like, they're like, this is a real mystery, huh? And you're like, it is. Like, I can't wait to find out what happens. And they're like, us too. What?
Are you a David Lynch guy? Do you like Mulholland Drive?
I've never seen Mulholland Drive.
Okay, so I'd never seen anything David Lynch. Mr. Pat Mayo had me watch Mulholland Drive.
I've heard good things about Mulholland Drive. I should watch that.
Yeah.
Severance is the new.
Yeah. Severance.
Well, Severance, I feel like I love Severance, but I feel like it knows what it's doing and where it's going, and it mapped out a plan ahead of time. That's my hope.
Well, isn't it interesting? I'm listening to the Severance podcast with Ben Stiller and Adam Scott, and I always find it interesting. What is the writer's plan? Lost. I was into Lost.
Oh
yeah,
and
Lost. Lost me. They made it up as they went.
Well, you're trying to get renewed. I mean, there've been there it is. That's proof. That's proof of interest in Lost.
That sure is.
That qualifies. But you're writing a show and you don't know. They talk about this on the Severance podcast. You write it, but is it going to make it? And you don't want it to just die on the vine and have it end. And then,
right.
So I don't know how you figure out what your endpoint is. And Lost was so popular, they went 7 seasons, and the middle, I think, was a mess.
And those were big, long seasons. That's network TV.
It was supposed to be 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Really?
It was only supposed to be 4 seasons, and it was so big. I mean, people cannot even think of how 5 times as big as Game of Thrones was. However big you think Game of Thrones was, it was
the first. It was one of the first internet shows, but in a era where we still had monoculture.
Right. It was one of the last shows that you had to wait for.
Right.
Yes.
Right. but you have the internet theorizing. So it was huge. It was like a
Exactly.
it was a
Perfect
crossover
timing.
between two eras.
It was like as if there was a podcast network for like MASH or something. You know, like it was so big. Everyone had
so funny.
Yeah.
The first podcast is just a MASH recap show.
So everyone
There should be one. There should be one.
It was locked in. Lost was and I mean just on Lost, like I actually appreciate the ending in the 6th season. Everyone says the 6th, I mean compared to Game of Thrones, it's like 100.
I just stopped watching, to be honest. There was an
wanted
episode
to.
where the scientists like kind of there was like, remember that like the scientist guy? I forget how he even got on the island, but he was like maybe he was like doing all sorts of experiments.
Someone more obscure, probably.
Yeah, he was like nerdy.
On.
Yeah, it was. So he I don't know. There's this whole episode where they basically were like trying to like figure out. Yeah, that rings a bell. They're trying to like figure out like what's going on with the island. And I just remember like my college roommate, we like sat down and we're like, okay, like what could this island be? Like and we're like, but that conflicts with this piece of evidence and that conflicts. And we're like, basically all potential avenues have been partially closed by some little red herring they had to throw in to keep us off the scent. That probably they'd had to because the show got extended for more seasons than they initially did. So
exactly.
Like,
how do you?
I'm not going to pretend
I
didn't see the episode that makes that that theory not work. So I just quit watching.
Davis, for the audio listeners, has tattoos. Live together, die alone. What is the resonance of like that made that so meaningful to you?
I actually got I was very young to get forearm tattoos. Maybe think about it if you're 19 and you're getting I like all my tattoos, but if I wasn't in the profession that I was in, could be a little bit limiting. But I got it after one of my really good friends growing up died. When one of my skateboarding buddies died when I was 19. Me and some of my other friends, we all went and got tattoos, and that was what I got. And that was at Lost had just kind of finished, and that the Live Together Die Alone is the what is it? It's the last 2 episodes of season 3.
Okay.
And they're great. They're great. I mean, that's probably about as good as the show.
Jack says it, right?
Yeah,
Jack says it to Kate.
Mm-hmm. And and I mean, frankly, like to this day, I still think Lost is, for me, probably the best show I've ever it's definitely the most I've ever enjoyed a piece of art on a screen.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff with like Desmond and all of that was quite powerful. It had the highs were high. That's
not Penny's boat. I mean, not if you're a man, if your heart is so full of stone that you see oh shit, what's his name? It's been so long since I've watched it.
The boy?
The Hobbit character. He's a Hobbit.
I don't know.
This is bad radio.
I know that Walt was the dog. My son is 15 and we've just started watching it again and he's into it.
Was he Merry or Pippin in
yes,
Lord of the Rings?
He's Merry, not Penny's boat. Charlie. When he does not Penny's boat and he's dying and you see the recognition on Desmond's face. I mean, that is like perfect television.
That's some good TV right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. He's 15. I remember my sister bought me, the big DVD sets, season 1. She's like, I love this show. I think you will like it. I was homesick one day and I just popped it in, first episode ever. And my wife got home from her real job at like 6:00 at night. And she's like, what's up? How do you feel? I'm like, I'm on episode 12. Sit down.
Yep.
And then we just went back to the beginning and watched them all like from the beginning. It was awesome. And then by season 3, maybe it was, where we were at the point where you have to wait for it on TV.
That's kind of what happened to me. I caught up, and then when I was waiting for it, the show seemed to get worse in my eyes. This is true.
Look at Aaron here.
Very high ceiling, low floor.
Yeah. One of these losty severance kind of shows, Davis.
It was a week-to-week show.
Week to week, Davis could be a character in one of these shows, and in one episode, his tattoos are gone, and you don't understand like how that happened. Is it from the past? Is it some sort of new technology? That's what Severance. on the Severance podcast, you want to know like what year is it, and the computers look a certain way, and everything is the music, but they don't tell you. I think it's something they don't want to tell you is when in time, or they just don't know. But,
well, it's kind of like it does. Is it even that relevant? Because it's such a different timeline that like it could be 2000, it could be 2040, but like the technology moved at a different pace, so it's sort of it doesn't necessarily matter.
I was with a bunch of guys this weekend, you two, that said the same thing. We love the show. We don't know what's happening, and we don't care. It's so beautiful on TV to look at.
I honestly liked the last episode. It seemed like people really did not like the most recent episode, but
I haven't watched it yet. I'm not.
They did a podcast. They did a podcast with Christopher Walken, who's on the show, if you don't know, and it's very good. It's 206. If you can find it, it's on the Odyssey app where I work, by the way. And his last line with Ben Stiller, who's interviewing him, is, "I am afraid of God," which is interesting to hear Christopher Walken say, and, you know, deep stuff. Yeah. Is it the best ball of shows? Some are saying we are just before noon on Monday of the legal
and Twitter is down. And Twitter is down.
Twitter is down. Yes.
You can't. So is Adam? Here's the question we have to know: is Adam Schefter breaking news on Blue Sky, on Truth Social?
This is a huge moment for Blue Sky if Twitter's actually down.
Oh, what an opening!
You cannot.
I think it's just back. I have 2 minutes ago. Although it is a tweet about Rudy Gobert, so it could be 5 years ago.
I cannot get in.
What a bit!
I'm Pat. On. It's loading for me.
What a bit! Rudy Gobert is the first tweet 5 years later when he's touched everything.
I don't know that Schefter's on Blue Sky. I think Rap Sheet is. Yeah, Rap Sheet is.
That's a good debate. Which of these guys wouldn't ever be on Blue Sky?
There's a mirror account for Schefter, but it depends on him actually tweeting. So that's no good. Rap Sheet, I think he double posts.
Well, assuming
his last post is 25 minutes ago.
Assuming we're back, is Davis? Are you our captain when it comes to news? Like usually when stuff happens, you jump in and like this just happened. So
I assume. Yeah, I'm just for whatever reason. Crane and I are kind of roughly the same age, but my brain is more poisoned than his. So yeah, I will be our news grabber whenever if there's something to report, and theoretically in about 30 seconds there should be stuff happening.
Yeah, we started early, like it was New Year's Eve. You know, you don't want to just start your New Year's Eve show on midnight. You want to start it early so you can sort of ramp up. All right, so
there's no time to talk about Lost if you start right at New Year's. You know?
Correct.
Exactly.
Now let's start here. Is George Pickens A, holding out, B, getting extended, C, getting traded, or D, in the cuck chair to DK Metcalf?
C.
I would say there's what were the options? Getting traded, holding out, cuck chair, and what?
Whatever B was.
Extended. Getting extended.
Getting extended.
Never.
I think getting traded is the most likely. I don't.
Me too.
I don't think that like he's necessarily going to just be the B to Metcalf. At least from a skill standpoint, I think I'd rather have Pickens than Metcalf.
Oh, now, see, I like. I mean, Crane, you know this. Almost no one has been a bigger advocate of Pickens like the entire time he's been in the NFL universe. DK Metcalf is just better than him.
DK Metcalf is older. He dealt with some injuries last year. If you want to talk about cuck chair, he's the one.
But he's already got the money.
In the cuck chair.
They traded for him, and then he already.
You can't pay someone to be good. I understand what happened, but I mean, if we're just talking about who's the more talented receiver in 2025, I don't think we should just assume that Pickens is worse than Metcalf.
What you just said, that should be. I mean, I should get that tattooed on my forearms. You can't pay someone to be good. I mean, I've never heard someone so eloquently explain why money doesn't necessarily equate to fantasy points before.
First clue: who gets the number? They both wear 14. Do we know?
Oh God!
Holy shit! I hadn't even pondered that.
That's huge.
Oh my God!
Who gets the number? Metcalf is now a $150 million investment by the Steelers. What's Pickens? He's going.
This is perhaps the least or the most short-sighted trade an NFL organization has ever made. I mean, these guys together is a fucking nightmare.
So Jacob Sanderson had a tweet where he's like, their skill sets are duplicative, but they're not necessarily like you can't have them both out there.
It's fine to have two grown-ass men as your wide receivers
fine.
if they're both okay with it. If they're both okay with it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a skill set issue. I think it's a. I think DK's probably fine with it. DK just got his money, and Pickens will help him see less coverage. So why wouldn't? And he's going to be installed as the number one in the offense. I believe that.
I would love for Pickens to be like they always will go to Pickens, the guy with the number originally, and like what is the deal? Oh, it's a car. Or it's a new kitchen, and Pickens' demand is $80 million. That's what I will give you my number for. I will give you my number for $80 million.
Pickens' demand should be however many targets you get in a given year. I have to end up with one more, or the Steelers have to pay the amount of money.
One extra dollar.
If you want 164 targets, that's fine by me, as long as I get 165. You
guys know who led the Pittsburgh Steelers in catches in 2024?
I assume Freiermuth?
Correct, 65. Yeah. Pickens had 59 for 900 yards and 3. One thing I wanted to ask you guys is, do you guys follow a certain rule of thumb when a team adds a wide receiver, a good one, and like what to do with the current wide receiver one? Is it because common sense is, well, that's bad, because there's somebody who's coming in over the top. It's bad for Pickens on that team. But a lot of people will tell you, no, it isn't. It's going to free up targets and it's going to fit in a certain scheme way. Is there a rule of thumb, or does it really have to be specific to the situation and the players?
This is bad for Pickens. I mean, this is unambiguously bad for Pickens because it's a low volume pass offense. And so the way that you're a fantasy relevant receiver on the Steelers is that you are the downfield passing game, right? Like AJ Brown was still extremely valuable on the Titans because he was like the whole downfield passing game and he was awesome. So the ability to consolidate in this offense is kind of the whole game. And now Pickens is not going to fully consolidate. My point with Metcalf is that I'm not sure Metcalf is going to fully consolidate if Pickens is there. I mean, I think Pickens, if we're just like picking receivers for this season. Now, there's lots of stuff bubbling up underneath in terms of like the personality, and we've seen Steelers receivers leave Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden they're like unmanageable.
And go to like zero. Go to zero. Absolute zero.
Yeah. So that part of it, I'm not like ignoring, but just from the skill set standpoint, Pickens has made huge strides since he's entered the league. He can get open. He's not just like a deep. Like Metcalf was pretty much go route, throw it up to him last year, which he hasn't always been, and he's getting older, so that makes you a little nervous. Pickens is getting open. Like in open score, he looks great for 2 straight years now. He's a young receiver. So just purely kind of the on-the-field stuff, I think he'll make DK Metcalf's life pretty difficult as he tries to, establish like a 28% target share, because that's what you need to do in this offense. I think in some offenses you can go, oh, this will improve the passing game. The Bengals, like, is it bad for Jamar Chase that T. Higgins is there? I don't think so, because they're going to pass a ton. Chase is clearly better. He's going to get his, but Higgins kind of helps lift the ceiling of the offense. So, and keeps the design of the offense really focused around the pass.
Do you think this makes it more likely that they sign Aaron Rodgers?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I do too. And frankly, this is actually going to be a very unpopular opinion, particularly for the ship chasing audience.
Here we go.
I love it.
Aaron Rodgers is going to be perfectly cromulent throwing to these guys. Aaron Rodgers is still probably like the 13th best quarterback in the NFL. He's got no mobility, like absolutely none. So he can't extend plays anymore. And that's been the big difference.
I kind of feel like Rodgers is what's funny is that if I could put Rodgers anywhere, like if I could just wipe everyone's brains, I'd put him on the Jets.
On the Jets. For sure.
I just want him to. I think he's capable of feeding Garrett Wilson a bunch of targets. And now that Adams is gone, that'll actually happen, right? But of course, this is a fantasy. But if he goes to the Steelers, I mean, he's got two guys who don't really separate as well as an Adams or a Wilson, at least. I mean, again, I think Pickens can, but he's still he's going to win downfield. It's not just all contested catches.
I mean, Rodgers can throw that stuff. We've seen him do the downfield. He doesn't love it.
He doesn't love it.
He prefers to throw the splash zone stuff.
Yeah, and be where you're
supposed to be.
Be where you're supposed to be exactly when you're supposed to be there, which isn't
really
Metcalf or Pickens.
That's neither of them. That's neither of them. Look, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just to back up a half step, does this make sense for them? I liked the idea of drafting Metcalf once the trade stuff came out. I was thinking about the Bills, certain teams. You're going to trade for him. You are going to feed him. You're going to pay him, which Pittsburgh immediately did. And so, he got a little bit hotter there. But Arthur Smith, I don't know. Is there any chance that's good? Fields is still I think the favorite, but maybe to your question, that'll change now. I think Pickens is gone.
Lowballing him on the money or something because they've said they wanted him to re-sign there, but here we are, and it hasn't happened. So I
think Pickens is likely. Before you go, you asked what's the likeliest outcome for Pickens? We both guessed trade. I think it still is. There's too much overlap.
I do too.
It's still Arthur Smith. Andrew Filipponi from Pittsburgh Radio and I have been friends many years. We used to work together, and he's so negative toward Pickens. The tantrums on the field, get him out of here. It's kind of funny how that's happened with Pittsburgh guys a few times. But this move to me is that they have a plan to do that. I think that's my best guess.
That's what would make sense to me, is that they're trying to get rid of Pickens. And I tell you what, I mean, if Chris Godwin signs with the Jaguars, the Patriots might send 3 firsts to get Pickens. They can't get anyone to go to New England. There's not a single person in the league willing to sign with the New England Patriots. So you got to trade. I think at this point Darius Slayton is going to get $45 million if he's willing to sign with the Patriots.
I was going to say Darius Slayton is about to get the bag. Hear me out. What if the Steelers are trying to set up their version of what the Bears tried to do for Caleb Williams last year, put their rookie quarterback in the best possible position to succeed, and they're taking Jackson Dart.
Well, so in that case, then I want them to sign Rodgers, because nothing would be funnier than him going to Pittsburgh and them then drafting a rookie quarterback in the middle of the first round.
This is a great idea. This is Garoppolo and Jackson Dart. Does Seattle, if you don't want to move off Pittsburgh yet, fine, but does Seattle beat Pittsburgh to Jackson Dart, or there could be trades? That could be a thing, because Seattle's wide open now, and we'll see what they do in free agency.
There's conflicting reports. One was that they basically decided they wanted Darnold, but one was that Geno turned down a bunch of money from them. It was just with no counter.
He just wanted out. Yeah.
He just wanted out.
Godwin is going back to Tampa.
Officially. I think that was always the most likely thing. That's how I've been drafting it. Frankly, I am not as pessimistic on Jalen McMillan. I've been getting this a lot in my YouTube chat of people being like, "Oh, McMillan is dead if Godwin resigns."
It's not great. He's a pretty expensive wide receiver 3.
But hear me out. Super condensed offense. They basically do not use they don't. Who's their wide receiver 4?
Well, they have Otten. They actually use a tight end.
Cade Otten is a 6% target share guy when those guys are on the field.
When I said official, I meant Rappaport.
I don't think he's 6.
$44 million guaranteed, 3 for 66. Godwin to Tampa.
And Corain, you know this as well as anyone. Contingent value is kind of the most important thing in best ball, and he's got giga contingent value with 30-year-old Mike Evans, Godwin coming in off this knee injury. I mean, maybe you move him down below Josh Downs now, maybe, but you're still taking him over Rashad Bateman, Diggs, these guys.
Yeah.
So you can't.
No question.
Maybe you can nuke him a little bit, but I don't.
I mean, he's at least 10 spots too high, maybe more.
Well, this is a fit we've already seen him going back to his original team. But Pat, if you don't mind, like, is there not a rule of thumb when it comes to the big wide receiver add to the original guy, or is it just like when you took the question, you went right to Pickens? That's who we were talking about. Is it always bad though for the guy for the incumbent?
To me, how secure is the number one as the number one, and then how much is the secondary guy going to like? Okay, so Puka,
right?
I don't think that the Adams signing is that bad for Puka. It's
I moved
not
him
good.
down. I moved him down one spot.
Yeah, I moved him down. I think 2 spots. Yeah, but it's like he's still roughly like he's going to dominate targets. The offense is still going to go around him. They like what Adams brings. I mean, I think part of it is that like Puka and Kupp were kind of similar in what they're adding. Adams gets open on his own on the outside. You're not like scheming stuff up so much. You're not like bringing him across the middle as much. So you have like Puka in his role and Adams in a different role. They're probably more complementary to each other. I think Adams probably helps and hurts, right? It's not like Puka's not going to see like an insane target share now, but the offense should
be better than if Jordan Whittington was the wide receiver too.
Yeah, they're going to be more confident in running the offense through the passing game. So I think there will be times when it hurts and times when it helps. Overall, it's like a small net negative. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's like
you guys surprised only $66 million for 3 years for Godwin?
I don't know. I want to say this about that. So the Bills are out here signing, defensive players and stuff for what seems like great money. Good players right now are getting great money. The cap is going up again. Everybody's worth billions, and it's nothing. Think about the running backs for this.
No,
last year.
I'm saying this is really light. I'm saying.
Okay. Well, in that context, good players getting great money, great players breaking the ceiling. Myles Garrett and all of this. So maybe you're right, but it does seem like right now is a great time to be up.
Like, why did the New England Patriots not offer 5 years, $120 million?
I don't know, man.
Maybe they did.
It was also pretty clear they were in on Metcalf because there was a report that there was at least a 3rd round pick on the table, but the Seahawks then said they're willing to lower their price to a 2nd. That 3rd round pick had to be the Patriots. It's an early 3rd.
Is somebody they're rumored to be wanting too.
I don't know. He's coming off a multi-ligament tear. That's not ideal. They are screwed, man. I'm really rooting for the Patriots to improve because I love Drake May, but like
Pat's offered more for Godwin. He turned it down per rap sheet on NFL Network.
Yep, there it is.
That makes sense to me, man. He just used them as leverage. Like the suck tax with the Patriots is so high right now. I think they should honestly be trying to trade for Pickens.
What do you think it's about?
I think partly it's about. I think one, it's freezing cold there.
That's what it's about. He likes playing with Baker Mayfield.
For Godwin, it is. But for what's the Patriots stink really about?
They're totally rudderless. They fired their coach after 1 year last year. They have a quarterback and that's it.
I think part of it is that roster is in such a horrific state that it just really speaks poorly to the organization and how the organization was run to get to that point. I mean, they're damn near an expansion roster. Yeah. Like it is really outside of May, like one of their best players on offense is Pop Douglas. Like that's wild.
Yeah. Hunter Henry,
is a crucial piece of the passing attack. Like it is really crazy. Like, and the offensive line is bad. And like, it's hard to see how it gets a bunch better.
I know, but the league is so changeable, and there are 10 franchises like that without the, exact worst roster at a given moment. There are so many teams that you would just not want to go to. And it's still Boston with a winning tradition. I mean, I don't know. It's a little weird for me that they cannot attract anybody, but that seems to be the case.
I think in maybe they kind of blew it too by not hiring Ben Johnson, because I think they probably the Patriot way stuff was never. I mean, it was almost anti-player. It was very like do your job, like all that crap, and they like kind of celebrating not paying guys, trading guys before they had to get paid. Being a year early on stuff, but like really kind of treating guys like shit was part of the ethos there. And then they bring in Vrabel, who was never under Belichick, but played for him and everything.
Played for him.
Yeah, and then they bring in Josh McDaniels, who's like the least players coach on offense you could have hired.
Players hate Josh McDaniels.
Players hate this guy. At least as head coach, they did. So,
but they don't get the F- for the cafeteria food like the Bengals or some of these other teams. Arizona's locker room.
Yeah. This will be a little bit a moment of tribute to our fallen hero Sam Sherman, because he would have had a great bit on this if he was
the original
alive.
Darren. The original Darren.
Mm-hmm. I saw a tweet yesterday that was so good that I did a quote tweet LMAO, which I almost never do. Like, a tweet has to be incredible. And it was, man, there's just a lot going on in the NFL right now. Can't believe how this is going. The Bengals front office is going to be astonished when they read about it in the newspaper tomorrow morning.
That's good. Yeah. That is so good.
We have Adam Schefter saying Justin Fields will not sign in Pittsburgh unless they make him QB1.
I think that's been the reporting, because I think he probably rightfully, frankly, feels a little bit miffed that he was 3-1, and like, frankly, is a better fit for the Arthur Smith offense than Russell Wilson, and they still benched him. But what's going to happen? Jets.
I don't.
No, the
Jets would be good for him. I think the Jets are unlikely to take a quarterback at 7. I think what he has to worry about is if he goes to the Seahawks, they could easily draft a quarterback. He's got to avoid being a bridge, And if he can, he's got to become Baker. That's his goal. Be kind of that middle class quarterback and surprise and win some games. I think the Jets would be a pretty good location. Now, it would suck for us. Like, I think he's not the best fit for Garrett Wilson. I guess he's better than some of the other options, but
what's the best case scenario, not team, but contract for Fields? Mayfield had to have the season first. He was a number 1 overall pick, and he was okay. He was on 3 other teams, and he went to Tampa. And he had to have the season first. And he had
to compete with what was the dude? Kyle Trask. He had to beat Kyle Trask out.
But then he put the numbers up, and then he got the contract.
Right, and then
Fields has yet to do that.
Yeah.
His options would be 1 year for a lot of money. Like 1 year, $30 million, some team would probably do. Or 4 years with a player option at like $18 million a year. Like, basically, or the Geno deal was 3 years, right? Wasn't it 3 years, $90 million?
Yeah, I think 3 years, yeah.
Something like that, or 3 years, $70 million, maybe. He could probably get that.
I think he's almost definitely going to be in a competition. If it's good that he wants to be QB1, but the Jets idea that I've heard the most often and that I like the most is some veteran, Tyrod Taylor, Daniel Jones, I don't know who it would be, Garoppolo, and your second round pick, one of those quarterbacks that just misses, Milroe, somebody like that. I think that
if the Indianapolis Colts do not take Milroe, they should be like fined a future draft pick for organizational incompetence. Like, truly, is there ever been a more logical backup quarterback to a starter in league history?
But they're not going to.
They're not
too similar.
Of course,
we've had this conversation. They're going to pick somebody different. Jones is a good idea there, I think.
I think the Jets are in position where they could sign Fields, or if Darnold doesn't have the baggage with the Jets, yes. Darnold would be a good option in that alternate universe, and not spend any resources in this bad quarterback class on quarterback, and then just like go into the future. And once there's actually I mean, Tyler Shuck in the second round just doesn't really move the needle for me.
No.
I really have a hard time. I just think it's not the best draft class overall, but there are positions where it's deep, and just like attack those positions and hope you're in position to get a quarterback for the future next year would be what I would do with that. Like, and that's where Fields would actually be appealing, where I think, maybe you're not going to have a winning season, but don't be atrocious. That's how everyone gets fired in New York, is if you're just like, the product is just like, God, we can't put this out there on the field anymore. If you can avoid that level, you'll be all right.
It's going to be pretty culture-y there. Aaron Glenn, past player. Yeah. I think they're going to try to redefine if whatever that it means, who they are as a franchise. If you
and honestly, Fields is a good fit for that. Like Fields, the locker room guy, leader. Like he's a guy to add to a winning organization. You know,
that is a very interesting thing. All of Fields' teammates have always loved him. Even when he's been like pretty terrible on the field, they've all been like, we're riding or dying for that guy.
Think about how well he's handled this Pittsburgh situation. Like clearly he didn't get any assurance that they were, we want to bring him back, but clearly he hasn't gotten any assurances that he'd actually be the starter because he's saying now, I want to sign somewhere I'll be the starter. So, you know, but he never put up a stink. He never he got benched for Russell Wilson after, you know, winning games for them. You know, it was never a locker room issue. I think if you're trying to do the Dan Campbell, you know, let's turn this culture around thing, he does make a lot of sense there.
Pat, if you can find our second slide, it's about the guys we're talking about here: Geno Smith, Fields, and Darnold, and also Darnold. Tell me which. Thanks to our guy Zach Lenars for putting this together. Call back to the ghost moments from Darnold's Jets career. Last two games, is Darnold Seattle? Does he have to be? What is going to happen with him?
Man, if they traded Geno and they don't get Darnold,
what did they do?
What's the plan?
I don't know.
Sam Howell?
Dude, please not Sam Howell. I honestly can't. I can't.
Give me new Sam Howell, Jackson Dart. You know, at least
new Sam Howell would be great.
New Sam.
That should be the next news item. Would be Darnold to Seattle, because why make the trade before today?
Right. Yeah, unless you know.
You have to know. Unless there's another idea that's better, but I don't know who that is.
Maybe they do.
I don't know. I mean, I think one reason to make the trade with Geno is that there's a report about to come out that he straight up said, I will not accept any offers from you. And that will hurt trade compensation. If it's like, we can't re-sign this guy.
Okay.
We basically need someone to give us anything, you know, that maybe you're getting like a day 3 pick at that point.
If you might remember, one of the fantasy playoff weeks might have been week 16, 15 or 16. It's Minnesota at Seattle. Good game. And Darnold makes a play late in this game to Jefferson to win it, which really hurts Seattle's playoff chances. You know, you just saw this happen in your own stadium. You might have a different impression of Sam Darnold than the Rams do.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a thing. Like, how many games of Sam Darnold did this team watch? You know, like, did they sit down and watch every game?
Right.
Did they? You know, there's a lot of players. You know, they're not watching Red Zone every week. They've got to catch up on some of this tape. That game probably does have an outsized impression. We see that all the time. We're like, oh, this guy they overpaid went nuts against them. Yeah. Now Seattle, like what what they're doing is really strange because they had a pretty solid roster. Like they seem like, you know, you fix the interior of the offensive line and you could easily be in the playoff discussion, you know. And I know it's not like for fans, it's more appealing to be like tear it down. You know, if you don't have elite quarterback play, what's the point and all that? But like if you're running an organization, consistently being in the playoff hunt or making the playoffs and doing something, like being where the Bucs are is pretty great if you run the Bucs. You know, that's like good for your job security and everything. So it's just odd that they weren't really that different.
Pat. It was interesting, Pat. One of the first news items of the offseason was their offensive coordinator was out. Right. And I don't know, I thought it went pretty well. So
I thought he was fine, yeah.
What are they doing there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're not bad, but the quarterback thing, you could like most accurate quarterback in the NFL, Geno Smith. But at 35 and you've topped out only like in the making the wild card round, I think it's reasonable to want to sort of turn that page eventually. We all liked, I think, a quarterback in this draft for the Seahawks to play behind him. I thought that was like a good spot for a quarterback 3. But
all right, we've got some legitimate breaking news.
All right, let's go.
You're on the wires. Davis is on the wires.
Elijah Mitchell signs a deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't have
$3.5 million.
So the question you have to ask yourselves, is this the Samaje Perine deal? Is this the Carlos Hyde? Remember Carlos Hyde signed? People, this is crazy memory.
Ronald Jones signed.
No, but do you remember Carlos Hyde signs with the Kansas City Chiefs, never plays a down for them. The year that he ran for 1,000 yards for Houston, he spent the entirety of that preseason
when he got
training
cut?
camp with the Chiefs. He was like a 70 to 53 cut. So you got to ask yourself, is this a real deal? Is this a deal worth? Do we react to this at all, or do we go? Yeah, this is Melvin Gordon. Think
it's
of
a weird one.
The,
it's so early. It's an end
so
of free
early.
agent deal that happens minutes into free agency.
Yeah, normally
where is this from?
Schultz.
Yeah.
All right. Twitter is still sort of sputtering, so.
But Underdog has aggregated it. That's where
I feel like I'm trying to buy tickets to a concert. Like it's just sort of click, hoping that it works at this point.
Yeah.
Same.
Good question. What's your answer, Davis? Like, what do you think? What's Pacheco's value anymore?
My answer is that it's 1, Perine retires, so Perine's gone.
Mm-hmm.
2, Carson Steele probably is done. We've seen the end of the Carson Steele experiment. Doesn't do anything. Probably the biggest thing is it doesn't do anything to invalidate Pacheco's role on the team, because if Pacheco is still healthy, I think he'll definitely be ahead. But it gives them a little bit of insurance, and clearly,
you think he'll definitely be ahead, given that Kareem Hunt forced a split?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
If you want to put him in a coffin, you sign you probably Rico Dowdle actually would be like if they'd
Rico
sign
Dowdle could legit put him in a coffin. Yeah.
If they signed Rico Dowdle to 2 years 11 the Zach Moss deal. If Rico Dowdle got the Zach Moss deal, then I would be worried. Frankly they just need bodies. And
this strikes me as like we don't want to get boxed out of some running back depth, but we don't want to spend a lot at running back in free agency. So who's willing to take this deal? There's probably like maybe they offer the same to Rico. He's like, I want more than that.
100%.
Yeah, and they're like, that's fine, but we're only willing to spend like $3.5 million. Who's willing to take it? Mitchell took it. That's good for Pacheco. The thing that could be bad is that's the type of thing you would do if you're planning to draft a running back in round 3.
I would say Kansas City should be minus 110 to select a running back before pick 100 of the NFL draft.
And this would fit perfectly
even now
with that plan.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
this
makes it more likely actually that they draft a running back. If they'd signed Najee Harris to 3 years, $16 million, less likely.
Agreed. Yeah.
Sure.
Completely agree.
Why sign anybody?
Depth. You can't trust Pacheco, fully, and you don't like if you're not bringing Hunt back and you're not bringing Perine back.
Yeah, your team is down to one active running back, and this is a team that does want to run the ball. I think they made it clear.
Well, there's some preference toward Mitchell that made them like the first team to sign anybody.
I think the preference was he was willing to take $3.5 million.
I think
and again, the one point you can't let go of this offseason is the money is almost irrelevant. Like it's just more. It's all basically
it's
money.
relevant. It's relevant for Kansas City because they just let their best offensive linemen go.
It's definitely more relevant for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They are. They're not the Saints, but the cap kind of matters for them.
The cap matters for teams that are good in a way that I think because people do the cap doesn't matter and they convert it all to signing bonuses. For teams that are good and plan on being good for a while, cap actually does matter. If you're the Saints, sure, cap's not real. Convert it all to signing bonuses, kick the can down the road.
The cap is very real for the Saints. It is ruining their franchise. If you're the Patriots, the cap's not real because no one will play for you no matter how much money you offer.
There's no cap at all.
The cap might
I can't
half, it wouldn't matter.
I can't even get on Twitter right now, but I'm not going to worry about it because I've got you guys. And of course, with me, you never know when things might break down. So I don't want to risk it. So Saturday morning, I broke a rule. I don't know if you guys are exactly this way, but you're up in an underdog draft. I was at an in-person baseball draft. I just looked and saw, all right, I'm up, and I never like to let it wait. So I just went and snap picked Xavier Worthy. Then after that, just go to Twitter, because again, it's like sort of in between picks in the baseball draft.
Surely
Whoops.
nothing happened with that.
Surely.
What are the odds? It wasn't like he had slid because other people knew this. It was maybe 10 minutes since the news. So, okay, Davis. So, I mean, you saw that. The Chiefs go and sign Hollywood Brown after the Worthy. Do they not? Like that happened, right? But
I think that was. I've been adamant the whole time the Chiefs were recent. It made the most sense for both parties.
So that was not because of Worthy at all.
No, I think Hollywood is greatfitchiefs.com because he can do both things. He can run underneath and he can do the deep threat stuff that can replace kind of the Justin Watson empty calorie snaps. And he obviously didn't do enough to put himself into the 3 years, $66 million range the way he hoped he would. So he signs another 1-year deal, hopes to get himself one big fat last contract from probably the New England Patriots.
What did he get, Brown? What did he get?
It's the same deal, 1 year, $11 million. Same 11. Deal he signed with them. Okay. Or was last year less?
8? I thought it was 8.
Yeah. So made sense for all parties. Gives them a little bit of cushion, getting Rashee Rice back. And the Williamson County Sheriff's Department is not pursuing any charges against Mr. Worthy.
And that is still a situation. We've had these, reminded me of Von Miller with the Bills, where he eventually was not charged, but it probably, good chance maybe it happened. That's how that goes. So there still is the possibility of a suspension.
It's unlikely.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, unless this incident kind of reopens, they press charges, or there's like another. Sounds pretty volatile. So
Miller got one.
Miller got one.
He got suspended.
But Hollywood Brown didn't get anything. This is more like that, I think, right?
I don't know.
There's no charges.
Frankly, I don't even know, because basically what it sounded like was the sheriff's department was like, this is a nothing burger. Nothing. Basically Worthy just wanted to get this gal off of his property.
It's tough to know. It's tough to know.
Of course, it's
tough to know.
I have a hard time, sort of.
It does make me a little less enthusiastic about Worthy. I'll say that. But he's fine at ADP. So
Chiefs sure do have a type, brother.
Yeah. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt. So we're not moving Worthy in rankings.
No, I moved him down slightly. I feel like it's harder to get excited about him blossoming into this amazing pro and stuff like this is popping up. But ultimately, right at ADP.
I mean, he's a very good football player. It sucks that this guy that I really liked watching play is now maybe a fucking jackass.
The other thing that became, I think is important that impacts Worthy's status a little bit is that it seems like Rashee
looks good.
Rehab is going really well, and Jeff Mueller had a tweet because he was kind of bearish. He had a tweet on Rashee that was like,
He had him as a fade, and now he has him as a buy. Jeff Muller's a PT.
He switched from fade to buy on some rehab timeline stuff. I don't understand exactly what was so bullish, but you do like seeing that. It was the lateral movement. It was that theoretically the LCL you should be able to go forward well, but it was something about the lateral movement and the stability that he saw or whatever. Again, who knows? But yeah, but that's one where for Worthy to really break out, you need him to kind of take on more of a real wide receiver role. And if Rashi's just dominating targets the way he looked like he was going to do, that would be not so great for Worthy where he's going.
My opinion is that Worthy is better than Rice. That is not going to be an opinion that is shared by anyone else on planet Earth. Probably
he's better at like real football. Probably. I mean, he adds more to an offense. It's harder to find a Worthy than a Rice, is maybe what I would say.
Do you think, is this right to say he can do what Rice can do, but with a lot more speed?
Yes.
I don't know if he can do what Rice can do.
We saw him do it.
We never saw him just become like the I know this guy's going to be open every single play.
He had a 30% target share in the final 5 games, and not including week 18.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Like as Kelsey went to 0, I believe Worthy's first 100-yard game was the conference championship.
Yeah, maybe. The Chiefs do it. They do it whatever they want against the Bills in the playoffs. And that was a Worthy game.
It's a little different though, Dave. It's not like
catches.
you got to design stuff for him a little bit, and then he can get deep in a way that Rice never can. I mean, it's not like he can't do stuff Rice can't do. But if I need like a guy to get open 8 yards downfield, give me Rice all day.
This, I'm going to be the only one who remembers this play probably, but it's 3rd and 8. It's the second drive against Buffalo, and Mahomes throws like a 12-yard out to Worthy, and Worthy stops short, gets in front of the defender, comes up, catches the ball, brings it into his body, gets both feet down while getting tackled by the defender.
I don't remember this, but that sounds great. I love that.
It was like the first time I was like, oh, this guy's actually a real receiver.
Yeah.
Like that was just that was like a play that like DeAndre Hopkins would make.
6'4", 85 in that game. The first 100-yard game of his career is the Super Bowl. 8 for 157 and 2. So that's something.
Something about two Chiefs wide receivers that they draft in the second round accomplishing their first thing in the Super Bowl.
Davis hitting the mic was like every time Worthy caught a bomb out of bounds. We also got breaking news: NFL wide receiver catches football.
The slide on the screen is running backs. We were talking about a couple of these guys. Thanks again to Zach for this. Jordan Mason as a potential RFA. Jaylen Warren. If we can go back to the Steelers, Jaylen Warren. $5.4 million. You're going to have to top that. You can sign him away from Pittsburgh, but will anybody really do that?
You got to give a second now. They gave him.
Lock him in.
Lock him in. I mean, he's going to be paired with a rookie. You know, like when I say this, I'm saying it mostly to myself because I am, the preeminent Warren Slappy even after last year. Mm-hmm. But like, don't assume that, it's like completely Warren's backfield here. They're going to bring someone else in, but he complements a lot of guys in this draft class. This is a draft class that has some early down bangers.
But then the problem is that we just run back the Jaylen Warren experience of the first 4 years of his career.
That's right. Yeah, but he's so trusted on passing downs. He's an amazing pass blocker and a really good receiver that I think it would be better than the Najee split. I think he probably gets more run. Now, it depends, right? Like if they draft Amari and Hampton or something, he's screwed.
Which they had better not after doing this.
Sure, but it's Arthur Smith, so you never know. But this is good, right? Like they didn't have to give him the tender they gave him. They gave him one higher than the lowest restricted free agent tender. So shows they value him, which nice to see.
Good. And if we like their offense going through the offseason here, I don't know, his ADP is 88. So round 8, right? I mean, maybe that's a good
that's fine. Yeah, because I think you're hoping obviously you get a starter, but if you get a rotational like a 1B with like high end contingent value and some standalone value, that's okay there. It's like an expensive version, but if you get a 1A, that's like great. Rodgers close to signing with the Steelers. I mean, Rodgers would be good for Warren. It would certainly be better than Fields, right? Like the receiving back, we would prefer Rodgers.
Rodgers would be huge for a check down back.
Fields to Jets official, Gabriel says. That would be.
This is crazy that I can't even
Don't
get
love
on.
that for Wilson.
It's crazy. I cannot even get on there and find out. So the
I
chat,
can't get
the chat has an opening.
How?
So does Blue Sky and the chat have both got a great opportunity here.
Yeah, chat. Chat just became
ESPN,
the biggest news source in the country.
ESPN has a news functionary, and I have the Athletic free agency tracker pulled up. It's running like a couple minutes behind, and some people are able to get on Twitter.
Rap sheets on Blue Sky. I'm not seeing anything about Fields.
Fields Jets is fake news per Ben.
All right. Jerry Dulac is the Pittsburgh reporter saying the Steelers are getting close to a deal with Rodgers, which I don't know what that means. In hockey, that means it will happen in the next 5 minutes. When any of the hockey guys says they're getting close, I don't know. There's some reason about why they just don't say it, but that maybe we should expect that imminently, or maybe
how
not.
How about Mikko Rantanen getting offered $14 million by the Colorado Avalanche, turning it down, then getting 12.5 by the Stars and taking it, Mike? How about that, huh?
Well, he gets traded to Carolina where he doesn't want to stay, and then they flip him to Dallas, and I guess, maybe it wasn't perfect for him, but it wasn't. It was worse for Carolina.
3 years, $74 million to the Patriots. De'Ami Brown, big signing for them.
Oh, come on!
No, I'm kidding.
My heart just stopped, dude. because I honestly was like, oh, shit, maybe that's what they would actually.
How dare you, Pat? How dare you? I think he will be. I think he will be.
I can't believe that you guys are like, oh, it's real.
No, because I've been thinking he'll get a deal where my jaw will kind of drop. I'm sort of racing for De'Ami Brown on that list to get a good deal, but not that. Not that.
I don't know.
Chad saying they would have bought it for $45 million total.
Yeah,
honestly, I think $45 million is probably what they're going to have to pay. It's Slayton and De'Ami Brown right now that are they're fighting over $45 million deal.
Davis, Tutu Atwell was not allowed to get to market, and he got 10.
They like him. He's a good situational deep threat, and he's a punt returner. It's honestly a fine deal for him. It really.
If they had signed him for $4 million, wouldn't that seem sort of normal?
They like him, and
honestly, he's good. Tutu's good. He's legit.
I think he's good. I like him too.
Yeah, and honestly, he fits great with Puka and Adams. Like, you can have him. He can be kind of your God. Who is the guy? Now I'm forgetting his name. Who's the guy that the Chargers had? Guyton. Yeah. He can be your Guyton, where you just go deep, man, and he gets open deep, man. Yeah.
I'd love to have a guy who's my Guyton be worth cost me $10 million. That's what I really want.
Well, and it's a 1 year
before market.
Too, so
it's a 1 year deal.
It doesn't matter.
I know.
And he fits. He's it's already proven that he works within the system well.
All I'm saying is why does that cost you 10? Why couldn't that cost you half that before market?
I'd rather have the guy that I know can do it as opposed to bringing in De'Ami Brown and installing him in that role.
These teams value guys who have been in their system a lot.
Yeah,
that's big. Yeah. That's big in the NFL right now.
Well, wide receivers we're talking about now. Our next slide has some much bigger names than the running back one. We can get back to running back if you want. Aaron Jones signing with Minnesota for pretty big money. Of course, everybody signing is for pretty big money.
I went into the offseason, by the way, for the prior slide, thinking the Vikings were the most obvious team to draft a rookie running back. Their running game kind of sucked last year. The whole McVay offense is built on a strong running game, play action, everything. And then you look at it and you're like, they have 4 picks. They're screwed. You can't have a rookie quarterback and be in a championship window and spend a 2nd round pick on a running back.
Right.
But man, feels like kind of an unforced error on their part to only have 4 picks with this rookie running back class. Cause Aaron Jones is 29 and his hamstrings are, they've been shot for 3 years basically.
They draft pretty late and they have their one, if I remember correctly, pretty doable move to turn that pick into 2 or 3 other picks and catch up. And it's all defensive line there between late 1st round through the 2nd round. Pretty flat. People that I'm talking to are saying about sort of the quality of the draft. So if you can get somebody maybe sooner the better for Minnesota, that's a move. I think Buffalo has their 2nd. So that's a move I'd want to make for them.
So we got the Patriots are signing linebacker Robert Spillane and converting him to outside wide receiver.
All right, that's true. That is actually true. I've been hearing that.
They actually are
going to
signing
happen.
Spillane. Yeah,
for $74 million. That's what's going to happen there.
Is that yeah?
Early reports.
By the way, the JJ Zach Reason pointed out on Blue Sky that the Steelers, they don't have their second round pick. So if you're thinking through Warren, it would either be the disaster scenario where they draft someone in the first round, or more likely round 3 or later. So kind of similar to what we were just talking about with Jones.
If they do sign Rodgers and move on from Fields and Wilson, then that's a quarterback spot in round 1 to pair with Rodgers. That's a quarterback spot. Yeah, I thought Davis got it. Freiermuth at 65 catches led them in receiving. Wide receiver 2 was just like nothing for Pittsburgh last year. On this chart here, you've got Davante Adams to the Rams. We mentioned that for a minute. Metcalf, Debo to Washington. Christian Kirk. I was surprised by that move. With his contract, I didn't think he was much of a cut candidate. His injury was a collarbone injury. I thought with Lawrence back, new coach, they would want to go with him, but it wasn't really like great for them financially. Was that just maybe, what's your guess? Like they're down on him? Is it maybe physically behind the scenes or what? He was another one. Houston is great at this. He was going to be released, but here comes Houston with a trade offer before the cut, and he goes there.
It felt to me like they were setting up to sign Godwin. So I'm surprised that
that's what I thought.
Yeah, if more money was on the table from the Jaguars, I'm surprised Godwin didn't go there. And if more money wasn't on the table from the Jaguars, why not? Because they got rid of Engram and Kirk, and now it's not a good wide receiver class. It's not a spot where I'd be like, oh, we'll just easily get someone in the second or third round. Like, it's not like there's no receivers, but I guess Parker Washington's going to play a lot.
One reason why Godwin maybe didn't take those deals, New England too, is moving sucks. Moving sucks.
I kind of thought it all made sense. Like Cohen went there. He's a good stylistic fit with Brian Thomas Jr. Cutting him and Engram both was weird, right?
That's weird to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because like when you look at the Jaguars, you're like, they could really use an Evan Engram. Like, they
need a targets merchant.
Yeah, they need some like underneath reliable guys, and they had 2 of them, and they got rid of both.
Sounds like they like Strange for whatever that's worth. It sounds like the GM was like saying some pretty nice stuff. Someone is asking about Stefon Diggs, and I do just want to mention he is a 31-year-old unrestricted free agent with a torn ACL. I think we are in the Stefon Diggs is going to sign a series of 1-year, $9 million Odell Beckham.
He's Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
He's like Ravens Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
You'd rather have the bigger guy if you're betting against age. You'd rather have him be bigger than
I'd rather have the guy not coming off an ACL tear.
I think if you're an NFL team, I think you'd literally rather have Hopkins, who's like super dust.
I think Allen is probably the best of these dust balls.
Yeah.
He could actually draw some targets last year.
Darius Slayton is going to be interesting.
Darius Slayton's going to get more money than Stefon Diggs in this free agency window.
Darius Slayton is like legitimately important for the Patriots now. Like they need to get him.
Well, what if they do Diggs? What if they're so down bad that they're just like, you want $17 million a year? Fine.
I'd rather have Slayton.
Revenge against Buffalo?
That might be a bit much.
You look, if you're listen, it felt a little bit much as it came out of my mouth, but I still feel like it might be correct because they have Pop Douglas, they have Hunter Henry, they actually have some dudes. What they don't have is like any speed on the outside. Their number one is Kayshon Boutte, who can't get open ever. He gets targets when he's like the guy's draped all over him. He still gets targets.
Well, their number one is Travis Hunter, so stay woke.
I mean, they would do backflips to get Hunter, but that's not going to happen. How do they get Hunter? Shador's not going top 3.
I think Shador might be going to the Cleveland footballing Browns.
I do not think that happens. I do not think they sit at 2 and take Shador. That
Travis Hunter goes
fix your analytics if that's what you do. Fix your
Tennessee,
analytics.
2 or 3. The Titans trade with the Giants. The Giants take Ward, and then the Browns take Hunter, I think, or Carter.
Man, Travis Hunter on the Browns. I'm sorry, dude. Just what a generational bummer that would be. Just no chance of ever playing a meaningful game. Don't you just hate that?
Well,
Travis Hunter and the Browns.
Yeah, he just basically will never play a meaningful game in his NFL career.
I don't know. They did sign Garrett.
He'll get paid on his second year, the second contract. So good for Travis, right?
I don't know, man. Can we get him to somewhere where he can conceivably matter in the NFL?
It's not the Titans. It's not the Giants.
The Titans are closer to mattering than the Browns.
The Browns?
The Browns are the furthest away from mattering of all 32 NFL teams.
I don't know. The Titans, I think, might be further away. It's just like a rotting. It's like a husk. It's like getting worse. Like it's like falling. It's like watching a house deteriorate. Like it's not
true.
Not that the Browns are in great shape. They're in pretty bad shape. But at least they got Garrett. They have like I would rather have the Browns receivers. Their lines like okay.
It'll come down to Cam Ward. One of them or the Giants will draft him.
I think the Giant. My current take on March 10th on Mario Day is that the Giants are trading up to select Cam.
Giants are trading up. Yeah, Giants are going to get Cam Ward. Basically, it's Giants. You can have anything but Malik Neighbors. Give us the number 1 pick. I think is where they're at. They almost have to get Ward.
Just want to take a moment. Thank everybody for hanging with us here today. With Twitter down, we enjoy being your blanket on this free agent legal tampering period Monday, or we're just kind of hoping to find out some more news here, but very interesting day for Twitter to stop working.
Darius Slayton is just
someone's tampering with Twitter, publicist.
Yes.
That's
what,
good.
Davis? Slayton?
Darius Slayton is just Josh Palmer with a good publicist. Per our man, Zach Lenars.
I don't know. Josh Palmer doesn't really get open. He's miscast. I think Palmer would be actually kind of interesting if he was like, I don't know. Palmer just isn't very good, but he's okay as like an outside guy, but he doesn't get behind guys. Honestly, Michael Wilson is Josh Palmer with a good publicist.
Sure.
Not that good of a publicist. Sure. But a little.
I mean, I can't even get on Twitter. Like I'm not even getting the fail whale anymore. It's just totally timed out.
I'm stuck with a story on top about the Fayetteville Woodpeckers introducing a new road jersey.
I cannot believe that NFL.
Our timelines are different, Mike.
Yes, they might be. They might be. What's yours?
Mine is just I left it on my notifications so I get the underdog alerts because I got the bell on.
Want to talk some risers and fallers here? We've got slides on that.
Let's do it.
Yep, one sec.
Here are your risers for this week. Bhashul Tuten, big jump, 28 spots. Jalen Noel, JSN, and Brenton Strange. Tuten, what's the buzz? I mean, the combine.
It's helpful to be a super athlete.
My man is he moved himself from the category of guys who were locked in day 3 picks to pretty likely day 2 pick now, right?
Third round feels very likely for him now.
Yeah,
running back 5 or 6 in the draft, maybe.
I think I had him 8 in my most recent.
Yeah, let me see.
Rookie rankings. I can pull it up.
Who is 5? It seems like there have been 4. And then a lot of others.
I think it's probably Caleb Johnson now.
Yeah, it's Caleb Johnson.
Okay, right. At best. 5 at best.
5 at best.
I still have
4 at best. I would say he's still alive to go 4th.
Judkins,
I have 4th.
Judkins?
Yeah. Crane,
yeah,
is it
right? But yes.
That would be
it head in the sand of me to still have Devin Neal as my running back 6? Am I just being stubborn?
You're definitely being a little bit stubborn, but I don't think it's crazy. I like Devin Neal still. I have Scattaboo 6.
See, that feels also head in the sand, but in a different direction.
You know what? I don't think it is head in the sand
because of the jumps.
Because of the jumps, and I went and looked at rankings post combine, and Renner still had him top 100, and guys who like it, Trevor Sickman's really into Scatabo, and they were doing a mock draft. He was gonna, I forget who was still on the board. It was he took him ahead of Caleb Johnson in their post combine mock draft.
Oh, so okay. Well, that's preposterous.
It surprised me, but it's not coming from the analytics side. It's more the real football, where are these guys gonna go. It's and somewhat analytics, but it's not the fantasy nerd side is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't seem like he's a day 3 guy for sure. It seems like he's still round 3. He's big. He has kind of a 3-down profile. He's a really good receiver. He doesn't have much. He's got no breakaway ability, but kind of the big Eckler kind of archetype is what you're hoping for there. And if he gets 3rd round capital, taking him at around pick 120 seems totally fine to me. So a pick behind ADP, but I was ready to fade him, man. I honestly, after the combine didn't run, I was like, all right, it's going to kill his stock, but it doesn't seem to have killed his stock.
In general, so Dallas is always, mocked, take Genty or running back. You have Denver for this too. If those teams wait until round 2 and pick Travion Henderson or whoever it is instead, are they what is that player's value compared with
round 2, round 3? If it let's say Genty lasts till pick 20 and goes to the Steelers, which is frankly not as impossible as you might think. It's definitely possible. Then that means that, how about this? We have to recontextualize actually the entirety of the rookie running back class, because one of the spots that had volume open but maybe wasn't that appealing was the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders running back spot you now love, because you're
they
have a competent NFL quarterback. They're going to be a top 5 pace offense in the NFL, probably.
Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly is one of the greatest running back, running play callers. The way he designs runs is beautiful. The guys they have under contract are Zamir White and Sincere McCormick, literal zeros, as zero can possibly be. If they take Quinshon Judkins in round 2, I mean, frankly, that's what they should do. Would probably rather have him than Josh Jacobs. Just putting my cards on the table, really.
I think that Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, and Travion Henderson as well are some of the best picks in best ball right now. Hampton's going to go 1st round, but could easily go to the Broncos. The Steelers would make sense. He could land in he could honestly, dude, Genty could go 6 to the Raiders and Hampton could go 12 to the Cowboys. That would not surprise me at this point. People love Hampton. So I'm pretty into Hampton. We have him at 39 now. So we're pretty bullish. But Judkins, he's going to pick 69. He could easily be a 3rd round pick by the end of it.
I want to give a little bit of color to this. The 2016 San Francisco 49ers, everyone forgets that Chip Kelly coached the 49ers for a year. I forget it all the time. They were awful.
Yep.
One of the worst teams of all time. They win 2 games. Carlos Hyde, a legitimate ass player, 217 rushes, 988 yards in 13 games with 27 receptions. He scores 9 touchdowns. I mean, we're talking running back 1 numbers on a 2-14 team. The Raiders take one of these rookie guys, it is to the moon for that.
Yeah,
guy.
And it's most likely the Raiders, I would say, are most likely to get Genty, Henderson, or Judkins. I don't think Hampton so much to the Raiders because he won't make it to the early round 2, I don't think.
No.
And I doubt they take him at 6. So specifically for the Raiders, I would say Hampton's unlikely to go, but Hampton could go somewhere else really nice in the first round.
Denver is pretty. I mean, Raiders, Cowboys, Broncos. Raiders at 6. They should not be drafting a running back, but if they do, Denver does the running back Denver selects just cancel everybody else in that backfield and play all the time, or do they still do Denver things?
I think he does a little bit of Denver stuff, but that there's like a clear, it's like a 65% snap share kind of role. I don't think it's not McVay. He's not going to do like 85, 90% of the snaps going to the running back. I don't see Peyton doing that, but he seems to like have been shaken by how badly this running back room looked last year. He's like, oh, I thought I could just kind of piece it together, but I guess it's actually pretty nice to have some talented players in the backfield. So I think he would lean on his top guy, and it wouldn't be like a rotation if they take a guy. I mean, if they take a guy in the first round, and Hampton, the part of the appeal of Hampton is that you can load him up with touches. Big guy, workhorse. So
there's also Chicago, I think, for a running back, and they have picks 39 and 41. They're still winning from the Carolina trade. So would that be logical for a running back in one of those 2 picks, whether that's Henderson, Judkins for the Bears?
Yeah. And I could see them going after both archetypes, because meaning they could go with Henderson and kind of use him as like as a Swift replacement, or they could go with like a Judkins, and use him more as like the early down hammer, and then Swift is like, the sometimes in the doghouse receiving back. But I mean, frankly, they could go. Would I be surprised if they were to take Judkins and then come back and get a Marcus Yarns in the 6th round or something? They could easily do that.
Yeah, not surprised at all.
Is this the longest Twitter has ever been down?
There's been times where it's been down longer, long time ago. I mean, we're talking like 6-7 years ago, probably. It's been down this long.
Yeah.
We talked about Davante Adams for a minute. What is your opinion on his ADP after the? I
moved him way up. I think I moved him up like 20 spots.
Damn.
He's going to play half his games in a dome. Then there's a huge, in my mind, there's 2 huge drop-offs at wide receiver. So big drop-off after T. Higgins, I think, to the next tier of guys. Then I would even say
it's before T.
You could argue it either way, London, Ladd, whatever. Then I think there is like, I think after Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans at wide receiver 19, wide receiver 20, I think there's like a cliff to Devonta Smith, Jameson Williams, those guys. Like, I think it's like legitimate. Like, I would have like a 30-point gap in my head or something. Those groups of players, maybe.
Interesting. I don't think I think Smith is a pretty solid pick. You're not into him?
Oh, I think he's fine. But in terms of like, can this guy score 280 points?
Sure. Okay.
No chance. Right. Super low volume, not the wide receiver 1 on his team. I think Adams leapfrogs those guys. I think Adams leapfrogs Jameson Williams.
Yeah, for sure. Jameson. Yeah.
Flowers
and Smith.
Flowers.
Yeah. Like I just want him.
Yeah.
Over those guys.
I have him. I think we have him in exactly the same. I've got him at 40 now. About 6-7 picks ahead of ADP. I see him pretty similarly. Yeah.
Davis, you're talking from wide receiver 27 to about wide receiver 20.
I moved him up. I believe I'd have to pull up my rankings, but I believe I moved him in between where I have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Mike Evans ranked.
All right.
I have him after both guys. We're pretty high on Harrison, man.
I love the idea of Adams there. I think he's still good. And with Puka and with Stafford and with McVay, that should be 10 touchdowns. I think Adams out there.
I think Adams it's something they've been trying to do for a few years, and this time I think it'll actually work. Matt Harmon just had his reception perception stuff out on the free agent class, and I only looked at the chart. I did what he said not to do. I just looked at the chart and didn't read the write-up yet. But, I was preparing for ADP chasing. Give me a break. But the chart looked pretty good. And he was, from watching him and tracking the stats last year, I thought Adams was still pretty good. Not peak Adams, but not someone I'm like thinking is dust. He is like not in the same category to me as the Hopkins, Keenan Allen crew. Like he still has something left in the tank, I think.
Mm-hmm. Kareem, you and I have talked about this a lot, but the thing is that the old guys are not dust until they are.
Until they are,
you
black
keep,
marble.
What's the black marble thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So my
totally.
my opinion is your base rate assumption should be that he's still good, but you can't be surprised if you pull the black marble.
Exactly. Not a guy to have a gigantic bag of, but in like the 4th round, seems fine to me. Best Adams ball, we're building a portfolio. I'm into it.
In a vacuum, Adams or Tet McMillan?
Oh, Adams.
I have Adams slightly ahead now.
Yeah.
Odunze is in there too, and I like drafting him.
I like drafting Odunze too, but part of the reason I like drafting Odunze is just to set up Caleb stuff. Like, I don't know if I love Odunze's cost in a vacuum.
Is there how much chance is there for him to have like an explosion year?
Pretty high.
Pretty high.
I think so.
Really high.
Yeah, I think that's why we're drafting Odunze. Like, if you think about what is most likely, he's a bad pick. If you think about what's most likely, he's probably going like the 6th, 7th round. But if you think about what the ceiling here is, the ceiling is the offense is running through Odunze by the end of the year. And it's a Ben Johnson offense. So, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So it's kind of like how likely you think that is how much Odunze you should have, I think.
Pat, we do probably have different timelines to an extent, but my Twitter is back up and I've got like 7 tweets in a row from Jacob. So things are working in Canada. Twitter maybe has been working in Canada today.
Twitter Canada is crushing it right now.
A lot of NHL trade deadline tweets from Jacob. bunch of guys with Finnish names changing rosters on $300,000 contracts.
There is a Jake Sanderson on the Senators, and there was a Josh Norris on the Senators who was traded to Buffalo on Friday.
Okay.
So welcome to Buffalo, Josh Norris.
Jake Sanderson plays for the U.S. men's hockey team, and scored a goal.
He did score in the 4 Nations. He did. Yeah. But Jacob, you guys know him. Jacob is Jacob, not Jake.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Very important to point that out.
Now, Dan Moore signs a 4-year deal with the Titans. Left tackle, best left tackle on the market since Ronnie Stanley did not hit free agency. Again, the Patriots were reported to offer $80 million. They were gonna double up that deal. He said no.
And move him to wide receiver.
This is like one of these shitty Major League Baseball teams that just like they can't get any free agents because no one wants to play there, and they end up signing the guy to like a ridiculous. I know this because my Kansas City Royals have been in this spot many times where like they have to offer like $20 million more than what another team would offer.
They just signed Carlton Davis. The Patriots just got Carlton Davis. They can only get defensive players. Seems bad. Seems pretty bad. Yeah. As someone who's rooted against the Patriots Brady's entire career, this is fun. As someone who really likes Drake May and would like to see him succeed, not so fun. But overall, I'm kind of giggling. This is making me a little giddy.
What should New England do at 4?
Travis Hunter, if they can.
Yeah, I think it's going to go in some order. Carter, Hunter, and Ward. Probably Ward first.
Me too.
So then I think you take Membu.
Offensive tackle.
That would be. I think you could also you could take Will Campbell and be like, we're going to try him at tackle, and if we need to kick him to guard, we also don't have guards. I guess that's in play. You could take Tet because literally no receivers in the league will sign with you, and so you need to get them through the draft or trade. So I think he's still in play, but his stock seems to have fallen. Maybe he works out a little bit at the pro day and revives it, but I would be surprised at this point if he were to go that high. So you probably take the tackle. You take Membu, I think.
Wide receiver in round 2, maybe.
Yeah,
by the way,
in round 2, maybe. Yeah,
if I may,
probably guard.
My weekday show, WGR in Buffalo, on the Odyssey app, Wednesdays at 4, most weeks, sometimes 5 Eastern, with Chris Trapasso of CBS Sports, where we talk about a lot of these prospects. It's not fantasy driven, so sorry, but it will include some defensive players. But if you're interested, it's always a good conversation I have Wednesdays with Chris.
Chris knows a lot of these.
Nice.
The prospects very well.
And another Buffalo boy.
Buffalo boy.
We just keep coming at you. Fallers, Pat.
Fallers, yep.
Noah Gray, Tez Johnson, Evan Engram, Isaiah Bond. You guys talked about Engram for a minute. I always thought his presence was holding their offense back, holding Lawrence back. Too easy.
A bad player.
Okay, to put it bluntly. So I still kind of like the Lawrence idea, but we talked about it earlier. What are they doing? What about Engram in terms of a landing spot? Like, does it matter? He's got to be a faller.
He has to be a faller because actually going back to our boy Jacob Sanderson, he's made this point that it's very unlikely that he's going to sign with another team who's willing to subvert their offense to just feed him targets.
Right.
He'll have to become so he met with the Broncos today. I mean, imagine this player in a 60% route share, third in line. It's so bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'd be okay on the Broncos, frankly. I mean, he would get targets,
Sure.
So you think about the best spot was the Bengals, which is they brought back Gesicki, so that's over. So yeah, he should fall a little, but you're telling me pick 150-ish?
No, he's a good
yeah,
pick.
He's a good pick.
Yeah.
I think he's a good pick. He's a receiver with tight end eligibility, and he's going to get a role. He doesn't stink as a real life NFL player. He's not he's not moving the needle on your offense, but he's going to find a spot where he earns targets. And yeah, those targets will be 3 yards downfield. But it's half point PPR or full point PPR.
146, 148. So end of 12, early 13. He's right there with Jake Ferguson and Kyle Pitts. Let's go with Kyle Pitts. I mean, I know it's always a bit on these shows, but I mean, I'm not taking Evan Engram over Pitts.
Until Kyle Pitts gets retired, I'm going to keep taking him.
Let's go, right? Just one of these times. New quarterback.
How bad can Kyle Pitts at tight end 18 really be? How bad can it be, really?
Versus,
I would, I know this is impossible, but I really would like to just fast forward to December right now and get Davis's reaction to see how bad it was, because I think it could be pretty bad.
To see his first touchdown of the year.
It could situational deep threat tight end 3 for a run heavy offense.
I know if you gave me the power to time travel, I shouldn't use it for a smash cut to Davis's reaction, but I would. I'm just being honest.
You get severed. You control, you can start to get to a point where you're reintegrating.
Sever me now until then. I just want.
You want to jump ahead to December just for this one thing. Don't tell me anything else. It'd be too much. Don't tell me anything else about this season. Just tell me that.
I just need this bit to pay off.
March 2026. How bad can round 20 Kyle Pitts really be? How bad? How bad?
This sums it up beautifully. Free Kyle Pitts has become free Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Tough.
I mean, Jonnu Smith just scored 8 touchdowns in a season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jonnu Smith is much better than Kyle Pitts now.
Much better.
It's just Kyle Pitts is.
Never mind.
He was a deep threat tight end, and I don't know if it's the knee injury or what, but he's not really getting deep. It's not
Pitts
happening.
or Zach Ertz. Life depends on it.
What for? What am I?
Next year, better fantasy season.
Give me Zach Ertz.
Oh my God.
Oh, Ertz is locked into 87 receptions.
It's ceiling, right? Like if you're saying one of them like is the guy you need, then I would still take Ertz, but it would be closer.
It turns out in the gauntlet, it was the guy I needed. Didn't have him. Zach Ertz. Sadly. Turns out. Hey, while we're still here, I wanted to throw something just as an aside by you guys. So I told you I went to Philadelphia, New Jersey for the weekend, last 2 days for baseball drafts, and listening to baseball podcasts, one in particular that I like, CBS, on my drive, but a 6-hour drive. And one guy was saying, very familiar to listening to you guys over the years. Man, a few years ago, I felt like I had such an edge, and now everybody's too good. And then I went to my guys in Philly, and one guy in our group, this is a fantasy baseball league that goes back to 1981, which is pretty good. One guy walks in, he's got a Churchill Downs jacket and hat on. And I made a joke to him, like, oh, have you ever been to Churchill Downs? He's got the hat and the jacket. By the way, never do that. Never more than one logo at a time, unless you're on the team and actually
you start to look like you work at Churchill Downs at a certain point.
One, between us, only one logo max ever. Anyway, we start talking about horse racing, and he's like telling me stories about going there. And like, you know what, Mike, back in the day, you know who to talk to and get information. You could make a killing. Now it's impossible. Horse racing. With the internet, everybody has access to the same stuff. I mean, it seems like that kind of crosses all across the sports landscape. How do you guys feel about what the edge is at this point in time? Gotten so sophisticated, shows like this and all the other good work that's out in the space. How really possible is it to feel like you know more than the guy next to you?
A lot of the NFL level stuff is kind of table stakes, and I think a lot of the edge is in building teams that attack the format you're playing in. You know, that's why we spend a lot of time on, like, if you're playing Best Ball Mania, you got to play Best Ball Mania. Don't play a season-long fantasy league in your Best Ball Mania, bullets. So understanding the playoff structure, understanding the format that you're playing, I think is more important than ever. And in some ways, the NFL stuff, people, they get like so wrapped up in the NFL stuff and so wrapped up in like what they think is going to happen and overconfident in specific outcomes, which I fall victim to as well. But like, that's an easy trap to fall into as you're studying the NFL. You're like, oh, I know what's going to happen with this team and that team and this team. But being able to like be open to multiple potential outcomes in a game that rewards single week upside for 3/4 of the tournament is pretty important.
Davis?
I think it's knowing what you don't know. Trying to avoid being, because some things you want to go with the market on. Like, I think there are certain spots to be like, yeah, if the market has decided this, I'll agree. But like, you're probably not going to win a market-based game agreeing with the market on everything, like 10 out of 10 times. So you have to pick and choose where to make your spots. I mean, frankly, last year was like the least efficient the fantasy football market has ever been.
That's probably true.
It was the heaviest across the board that wide receivers had ever been drafted, and it was the worst wide receiver season, both in terms of actual points and of injuries in a decade. Passing
and
was
a great
down.
running back season,
and there was
a little healthier.
It didn't end this way, but for a huge chunk of the season, rushes and passes were nearly equivalent in EPA, which has not been true for a decade in professional football.
Yeah. Although quarterback rushing was a big part of that.
Quarterback rushing was a big part of it.
Yeah.
And we're all sort of drafting like we expect that to go back to normal.
Next year. I mean, it's not last year's
I'm drafting.
ADP. Running backs are going
running
higher than last year.
I'm not fighting it. Like, I'm taking Derrick Henry. I'm taking a 31. Like, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley are so obviously bad picks that like fail 95% of the time. But I just am unwilling to stake my whole season on that happening. So I'm just
being right about that.
There is also like, and this is something I kind of struggle with because if I don't like a guy, it's hard for me to take him. But you can always try to draft the best version of the Derrick Henry team. Like my Derrick Henry teams will be better than yours, or better than the average. My Saquon teams are going to be better. You know, that's how like you can kind of get yourself to do it a little bit. Henry, I struggle to take more than Saquon this year. But
as tough as that is, Pat, when it's so early, like in big board, when we're sprinkling in these rookies with no idea what the landing spots are or the draft capital, like I think that'll be a little bit, maybe it goes without saying, but a little bit easier to sort of say when we get to July, right? Like, okay.
I think it's easy for me. It's easier to say now because I can talk myself into finding wide receiver upside later, right? Like I'm going to, I was taking a lot of Christian Kirk and I still am down with him. I think he's a really good pick because he's available past pick 100 and is a starting wide receiver, And so now he's not like upside, but then you start to pair him with, your Luther Burden, Mecca Igbukah, Matthew Golden, like that. You getting those guys in a range where you can hit some. I mean, they could all be first round picks. Each of them has good chances of being a first round pick. And so I still like Ted McMillan. So there's like ways to find wide receiver upside at least a little bit later in the draft in a way that's going to be harder to do in July, right? Like at the at peak slappy ADP right before the normies come in August. All the wide receiver upsides can be priced up, and it's just like because there's so much more uncertainty now, you can at least be like on this team. I mean, look, Travis Hunter. I'm taking Travis Hunter in the 120s. He's upside. He's a lot of upside at wide receiver. So if I pair him with, a Bucky Irving in the 3rd round, Breece Hall in the 3rd round, Josh Jacobs, like all those guys, much easier for me to take. And the guys ahead of them as well, not just those guys, but you go, okay, I'm getting some touches. Kyron Williams at the 3-4 turn. Okay.
Cook.
And then I'm Cook. I'm gonna take some upside swings at receiver and put together a team that's gonna look in August like, holy shit, how did I put this together?
How about this question, guys? So what percentage of your teams so far are you starting 3 wide receivers versus last year?
Less, way less.
I'm not even comfortable. It got to be, like you said, the thing, the cool thing, the right thing, 3 wide receiver starts or more, 5, 6. Now it looks sort of a little bit of a concern to me to start with 3. I'd kind of rather not.
I mean, first of all, Bowers and McBride, I think, are awesome picks. So
right.
You get
and a couple
immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that immediately makes it more difficult. But then, I mean, the running back prices are more expensive than last year, but not overly expensive in a number of cases. There's certain running backs I'm fading early, but you can. The spot where I'm taking receiver a lot is kind of like round, 4, 5, 6. Like there's definitely a pocket where I want to have my wide receivers at least in decent shape, before it dries up. But I don't feel the need to like. Look, I started it the other day. I started with 0 wide receivers through 3, which I normally don't like to do. But I'm like, let me see if I can dig out of this. And I felt like I did. Again, you need to take on a little bit of risk. I had Travis Hunter on that team. I'm just like, if Travis Hunter is a wide receiver, as my wide receiver 5, I think.
Yeah, Pete's Travis Hunter video worked on me.
I saw you write that in the Discord. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirk a riser next week.
I mean, Kirk riser right now, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he should be
120.
Although I think I would be hesitant to chase him all the way up, just because, like, what are you? Like wide receiver 45 maybe is like even that. It's like
I think it's fine, man. I honestly think it's fine. Like the Diggs role was pretty good, and Dell probably doesn't play all year.
I mean, Dell might just be done. Yeah.
Yeah. So they could draft somebody, but like he could. I mean, we kind of the issue with Kirk last year is that it's like you're taking Jacoby Myers in the 3rd round, but if you're taking Texans Jacoby Myers is like 8th, 9th round value. So anything after that, I'm in.
Yeah.
I like the player too. All right. We'll see next week on the show. Next Monday is St. Patrick's Day. Anybody up for doing the show at night?
I do not work after 5 p.m. Central Time. Show up. That's something you're gonna have to learn about me.
I think I knew it. 5 a.m. I have a better chance than 5
a.m. You could pretty much count me in. Yeah.
All right. Like it could be festive.
5 a.m. I'm out. So yeah.
Yeah.
How about we do it the normal time, but we'll wear a little green.
I'll wear green. Wear green. I'll do the classic white guy move. I've got my Larry Bird 33 jersey that all white guys are contractually obligated to wear on St. Patrick's Day.
All right. It's a date. What's coming up this week for you two?
I'm doing a pod, the much promised pod with Eric Froton on the rookie class, recording on Wednesday. So look for that. Going to be, let's see. I got rookie content rolling out. I wrote up the rookie quarterbacks last week, and I'll have some additional rookie content rolling out this week as well.
Davis?
Stream right after this. It'll be you'll get directly sent there. Well, maybe. I don't know. Peter is on an airplane right now, so maybe you won't. But I'm streaming immediately after this. There is a Dynasty Rankings Roundtable video on my channel and on Pat's channel with me, him, and Jacob. We really only got through the rookies on those, so we
should do another one soon.
We should do another one of those. And
I also have a big Dynasty Rankings refresh that I need to get up. So I'll have people hooked up with that soon.
Yeah, mine are posted, patreon.com/DavisMattock. Also, if you want Dynasty Rankings, they're up, they're fresh there, and I'll be streaming big boards every day this week.
I will need that pretty soon. FFPC Dynasty cuts are the end of March. So far, it's still just pretty much every day waking up to a couple of trade offers where you're always getting at least one more player in the offer because cuts are tight. You cut to 16 in those.
Oh, you know what? Let's we got a couple minutes here, Shope. I'm gonna make you sweat. I've got a team. Shope, you're in this league with me, actually, the $77 one where I took over the orphan. So I have the 101 and the 102 with Bijan and Neighbors already on this team.
Nice.
So
you're good, and a tight end too, I think. Let me look.
I have Laporta. So I got offered my 302 to add on Isaiah Pacheco. This is the FFPC format, so really it's like a keeper league, not like a dynasty league.
And it's best ball.
You're taking Genty already. But,
right? So I have Genty and Bijan, so I think I just say no, right?
And it's super flex. No. And it's super flex.
The thing with Pacheco is you're never getting out of that, right? Like and in these, you could easily end up cutting Pacheco, like easily.
Yeah. Okay.
They're shallow, man.
I got an offer in the same league today for Pacheco to give up a pick for him. It's just one more other guy I'll have to cut. So
yeah, he's getting cut.
I'm out. Your team is better than you think, or than you say. Your team is better. Than you say.
This team is ready to cook this year. It's ready. I traded for like Kirk Cousins and Dak when they were injured. Like it was a multi-year tank.
Cousins, Prescott.
When is cut down? May. When's the deadline for those?
March 31st.
So I need to take care of that.
Worthy, Neighbors, Davante Smith. I traded you Christian Watson in that league. Pitts.
Tough.
Oh, you're
Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is now on because his price got low enough. He's now at the bottom end of like every dynasty team I have.
You better get that third for Pitts in the FFPC because he might
if I'm in an FFPC dynasty league with you and you're about to cut Kyle Pitts, send me a message because I'll probably that trade.
Morgan Moses, 3 years, $24 million with the Patriots. They got someone. He was already in New York, right?
Who's Morgan
Moses? Kind of cold.
Offensive line
tackle. He was not exactly the prize, but he's a functional player.
At 34.
Steph, if you were in the Ship Chasing Discord, message Steph. She has dynasty spots available in her Rockstar League for dispersal. I know it's very hard to be a dynasty commissioner, so please help her out.
Top comment on the deal. 3 years for Morgan Moses. Bro's already like 35 crying emoji. Well done, Twitter. Twitter is back up.
Patriots.
Patriots way, baby.
Yep.
For Davis and Pat, I'm Mike. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Hang on. I'm going to get the outro. Later.